Okay, good morning. Welcome back. Um, Yesterday's video was not a lecture, it was solely to introduce you to doing your unit test. So, for those of you that didn't watch, there's an announcement that was sent on D2L yesterday for you to make a copy of the document from that link, fill it out, and then share it with me. That is essentially going to be your unit exam for Unit 2 because we finished Unit 2 yesterday. Or, not yesterday, the day before. Today, we are going to start Unit 3, which is Economic Globalization. So, some of you may have a copy of this, the hard copy that I gave in class. If you don't have it, it is on D2L. In the content section, there is a tab at the bottom that says Student Activity Guides. You just got to find the one that says Unit 3, Economic Globalization. I'm just going to introduce it today. We're going to just go through the first page, the first activity guide. So this is Activity 19. Understanding contemporary economic globalization. So I'm going to introduce it today. So today will be a really good start because because we're starting this unit outside of class time. All the questions that you do, all the fill in the blanks that you do them on a Google Doc. That same goes with your definitions. Make sure you're doing all of that on a Google Doc. Whenever we get to the end of economic globalization, that's the document you're going to send me so that I can mark it for you. That's how it's going to work. So this one won't be a mix of both. It is just send me the Google Doc of this. So we are going to focus on this question: does globalization contribute to sustainable prosperity for all people? Does everybody benefit from economic globalization, or is there some that do not? So this is page 3 in your new workbook. You'll start this by watching this 15-minute video on chocolate. Chocolate is a interesting, delicious segue into economic globalization because we are going to talk about trade. Because what is economic globalization? It's the movement of goods and services around the world. So when we talk about cultural globalization, it's the moving of ideas or cultural things around the world. Economic globalization is only focused on the movement of goods and services. So a very obvious one is oil. Oil is bought and sold on international markets. Because we live in Alberta, oil is kind of a necessary part of our life. We live in an economy which is run by oil. What we're seeing right now in the world with the coronavirus going around is it is damaging the market because production is starting to decrease. Workers are not going to work in a lot of countries because of fear of getting sick. So we do see a decrease in production. So oil is a commodity that is bought and sold. Workers going to different countries, again, is a part of economic globalization. We do see something called migrant workers who travel to different places to do different jobs. So economic globalization, a movement of goods and services. So manufacturing is goods produced in other countries available in Canada. So if you grab things in your house, I guarantee you a lot of them were made outside of Canada. We talked about this in class when we looked at our cell phones. Our cell phones were made in China. When we looked at our shoes were made outside of Canada in places like Vietnam, China, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, these sort of places. Um, so this image here on slide 4, these are the top importers to Canada. So we got places like the United States, China, Mexico, Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, South Korea, France, Algeria, Italy, um, and another one I can't read. That's okay though. Um, we import things. We import things that we cannot produce for ourselves. Again, we talked about this in class. Um, if you like coconuts, you're not eating Alberta coconuts because we don't produce them here. These are being goods that are being brought in. Essentially, they're manufactured or they're grown outside of Canada and they're brought in. So economic globalization is it can be seen as these strings that connect us to each other, and along these strings come goods and services, and then likewise they also go out as well. So again, you'll just watch this chocolate video part 2. Um, so moving on though, there's different views and aspects of economic globalization that we need to talk about, because like anything, there are people who are for it, there are people who are against it, and there are people who are in the middle. And it goes with any sort of thing that you talk about in life. So there's 3 individuals pictured here. William Tabb, he's saying that this is a negative, so it's a force, a bad force. He's saying that global interdependence does not benefit everyone equally and has created problems for many. So he would be looking at things like corporations getting rich off of and paying their workers low wages. So things like sweatshop workers, these sort of things. So that's something that he would have cited in his position. We'll dig deep into each sort of these as the unit goes on by. So we have Joseph Stiglitz, and his point of view is a little bit more positive. So the world is more interdependent than ever. This is good because it promotes peaceful resolutions to problems. So what he is citing is that, like I talked about, with those strings that exist between each country, we need each other. A country can't live without other countries. So it promotes a peaceful way of solving problems. For example, North Korea has closed its border off to nearly every country in the world. It still has some ties with China and some ties with, I believe, Russia as well. But the people inside the country are struggling with things like basic necessities. They have black markets where they're selling things that we can go to the store and buy for a few dollars. They're risking their life to buy. There's been many believed famines that have existed throughout the North Korean regime's existence. And there has been instances where people are resorted to eating things like tree bark, grass, small animals like rats and birds just to sustain themselves. Because they are not a part of this economic global trading network, they are suffering. So there is this pressure for people to join in to help better their people. So that's where our friend Joseph here would get his point of view from. And then we have Naomi Klein, who's saying that global interdependence is creating fences between people. So she would be of the persuasion that countries will start to want to protect their own interests. They will see their corporations and their national interests, whatever their country is known for making, and they're going to want to protect it. So, for example, let's say Canada produces oil, so we're going to want to make sure that our oil industry is protected. So we're going to stop bringing oil in because we want to use our oil only. So it does create some tension. Sure, we're not snipping the string that connects us to other countries, but we're making it really difficult to have oil come in our example, I mean. And we'll get to that. We'll get to things known as import taxes and tariffs that countries will make so that other countries are less likely to want to give or bring goods in. So we'll get to that though. Like I said, this is just an introduction. So those are 3 points of views that on economic globalization. And perhaps when you think about it, when you go through this, you'll find where you sit. Because economic globalization, it is a part of your life and it is a part of my life as well. I'm looking around the room I'm sitting in right now. A lot of these things I have now because of economic globalization. I know that the desk that this laptop is currently sitting on, it was made outside of Canada. I believe it was made in Vietnam. Another example of economic globalization that we have. And we've talked about this in class. We are living in an economically globalized world where you can have something from across the world fairly quickly with things like Amazon. So again, on slide 7, there is another chocolate video. You're going to see that chocolate is very interesting. But we'll get to that when we get there. Let's focus right now on slide 8, multinational corporations. These are companies that operate in more than 2 countries, often large and more powerful than national governments. So when we talk about multinational corporations, we're talking about things like Nike. We're talking about things like Apple. We're talking about things like, I don't know, I can't even think of some more. But you get the picture. We're talking about corporations that we don't even, Hershey's, Nestle, these sort of things. There are many different many different multinational corporations, and they tend to become quite powerful. So this graphic on slide 8 shows you just how powerful. So we have a list of countries by population, and then over here we have GDP. So how much this country can essentially produce in a year, in billions. So, and then on the other side we have some, these are car manufacturers. So Toyota, sorry I'm coming so close, I don't have my glasses on. Toyota has a net production of, revenue. I'm looking at revenue, sorry. Of $240 billion a year. That's more than the country of Finland. So you can see the power that these sort of companies can have. And that's why in some places, sweatshop labor, so paying very low wages for products, it's an acceptable evil that they have no choice but to accept because these companies bring in money. They bring in resources to these places. And I remember we did discuss this in class, that this, in my opinion at least, is a form of economic slavery. Because the people who are in these poorer countries or these developing countries, they have no choice but to work for the low wages that they get. Because if they speak up, then they are fired or dismissed, and someone else will take their place. Because there is a lineup of thousands of people waiting to take that one position. So, in my opinion, it is a form of economic slavery. So that is a negative of economic globalization. A person can also argue that it's the opposite. It's positive because it's bringing in money that would not be there if not for a multinational corporation. So it's not as simple black and white argument. There is a lot of gray area. This idea of instability in the market. Problems in one country may affect others because of independence of manufactured goods. So things like workers going on strike, or a natural disaster destroying something. An excellent example of an instability in the market happened recently. we talked about briefly the war in Yemen, the civil war that's going on in Yemen. Um, so it was a few months ago. Saudi Arabia, which is one of the largest oil producing countries, its manufacturing plant for oil was hit by rockets that the Houthi rebels in Yemen claimed responsibility, whereas a lot of other countries believed it was Iran who had launched these rockets. And it disrupted good manufacturing. The entire world went into a panic because the oil market was now unstable. One of the largest producers had stopped producing for I think a few days or a week, and the world felt this shift. So there can be man-made instability, and there could be natural disasters, or there could be an economic downturn. These sort of things can unstabilize the market because countries are still independently producing these goods. So slide 9, you'll just watch the last of this chocolate video. Slide 10 here has a Nestle Kit Kat. On the back is the cocoa or plan. So this is a plan, and it shows you how the chocolate market has gone. It's gone from a market of quasi or even slave labor to get the cocoa beans, to it becoming a sustainable thing where farmers are now getting a fair deal when it comes to selling their goods. So throughout those videos, you would have picked up on that. I will go back, to the multinational corporation slide. You're going to answer question 1 and 2. Don't answer it in the booklet, though. Answer it on a Google Doc. Start with these 2 questions, and then just continue on as we go through these lecture notes together. The last slide, again, just watch it. It's Grocery Wars. It'll most likely highlight the competition between grocery stores, and how it is a part of economic globalization, the competition between different groups who want our money. That's basically what it is. That's it for today. It's a very short video. Please make sure that you do your test so I can mark it for you and put it into D2L, because you do need a mark at the end of this, and I don't want to give you something that you wouldn't that you don't deserve. So please make sure you're doing this and continue watching the videos. If you have any questions or concerns, comment or email me. Some of you have done fantastic jobs of doing that and staying on top of things. I do see those of you that are on that do log on to your D2L, so it's great. A lot of you are doing good. Some of you, not so much, and you probably wouldn't know that because you probably wouldn't know what I'm saying to you because you haven't watched any of the videos. Let's be honest. But let's put a positive spin on things, because I look out the world. It's a sunny day. It's fantastic. And yeah, so I will look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day.